What's up, everybody? Carl Erickson here, and I got another question, so I have another answer. Has there ever been something that I wrote into a screenplay and then removed and regret it, or kept something in a screenplay and regret it? Obviously, I make changes, and there are things that I had put in that I obviously remove. Do I regret them? Sometimes they could be great moments, but they just don't fit the story. And it could be a great scene, they just don't fit the story. There is in Poor Earl, one of my short films, very low budget student film that I made, there's a scene I wish I had written. I have where Earl and his wife are entering the theater and the doorman takes their candy. And so, he's no candy in the theater. Then they go and they watch the play and things are rekindling. He sees how much he loves her. And then Earl disappears, comes back, and he's got the candy. That's cute, right? I wish I had shown what Earl had to go through. I showed the obstacle, but I didn't show him overcoming that obstacle to get the candy. And I wish I had done that. Other than that, something big. I talked about this in my writing process about you being in charge. This is your project. When I graduated college, I had started on my first feature screenplay, not really knowing what I was getting myself into. Again, I talked about you eventually learned the process and what needs to have happen. Anyway, I just wrote and wrote and wrote and kept writing. Finally, I finished it. I did more rewrites like always. I love to rewrite, and it was ready. Right, I got my buddy on board to co-produce with me. Great dude, and we got it out there to actually quite a few people. But the point is, we got it to somebody first, and they said, "Hey, great story. We really like it, but we wish this would happen." And I was so eager to have people like my work and to have the possibility of having my work made that I was like, "Yeah, I'll change that. Here's my screenplay." I never heard from them again. Then we got it on someone else's desk, and they're like, "Oh, we love this. This would be a little bit better this way." And so I'm like, "No problem." I write it, give it to them, I never hear back from them. This continues. And when I say it continues, this is a process that takes years, right? So when you rewrite, you don't, obviously, I like to get to things right away, but it still takes time to rewrite. And then you rewrite that again. You want to make sure that what you added in was correct. And then you send it to them. And then you have the time, you wait for them to get back to you. In some cases, most those cases, they don't get back to you. So this process took years of me finding out what people want and what I need to do with the script and all that fun stuff and finding people who would actually read it, because just because you want someone to read something doesn't mean they are going to read it. So that it takes time and I didn't, obviously I was green as far as the process goes. I should have been working on other things as well. And I was to an extent, but not to how I should have been. The point is, I rewrote this thing so many times to appease other people that eventually I was left with a screenplay that I don't recognize anymore. It was missing my heart. So whether someone could identify with that story or not, I don't know. I just know that it was no longer the story that I wanted to tell. That is eventually how I wrote Holiday Help. That was a screenplay that I said, fuck everybody else. I'm going to write a story that I want to write, and it's going to happen the way that I want it to happen. And you know what? I wrote for everybody else already, and I got nothing from it. And I'm miserable with the content in that screenplay. If I'm going to have people not be interested in my work, they're going to not be interested in something that I love. And I'm not saying this is going to work for everybody. I can't say that. But what I can say is the moment I decided to stop giving a shit about what everybody else wanted in my screenplays, and I'm not talking about feedback, right? I'm not talking about constructive feedback. Once I said, I don't give a shit about this is how I want to tell a story. This is the formula that I want to use, and I'm going to go for it. And this is the comedy that I like to use. Once I did that, that is actually when I started to gain speed with my writing and my success in festivals and contests. Once I said to everybody else, that's really when things started taking off. So I think that yes, there's a time when I completely regret sacrificing my vision for somebody else who ultimately, if they don't see your vision, then that's just somebody you shouldn't be working with. Maybe there's that.